We are through 6 weeks of the 2025 NFL season, officially 1/3 of the way through the NFL regular season, and just one game shy of halfway through the fantasy regular season. And one of the most monumentous events so far this season has occurred today, and that is the retirement of David Bell.
Oh, he's the manager of the Reds right now. This is David Bell.
We should do a highlight reel of him managing the Reds.
Oh man, gotta play the David Bell clip one last time. That one was too good to we couldn't let it go quietly into the night.
Great clip. Yeah, I saw that it was 47 seconds long, and I was like, do I click this? Is this how we intro? But it was worth it. It was 47 seconds of bliss.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the classics. That's when I hear the David Bell clip start to roll, that just it tickles all the right nostalgia spots. So, but I do think that's we've used up our quota of David Bell talk already on the show. I think we probably should go ahead and dive into the quarterback chart.
You should absolutely not drop David Bell. David Bell, he drops passes, but you should not drop him.
He's a real glue guy, real locker room guy for your fantasy teams.
Okay, so we have the quarterback charts. Last couple of weeks, I have done the show notes, but this week, Zach has. So I'm gonna let you you take it away.
I mean, I'll go ahead and lead with the headline here. Drake Maye is absolutely him. I mean, I think I had a Drake Maye monologue last week. You're gonna sit through one more Drake Maye monologue. So. I mean, so much of the initially is like, okay, well, Stephon Diggs is starting to ascend. He's looking like the Diggs of old. Maybe that's, really what's getting this Patriots offense moving. Nope, doesn't matter. Drake Maye can do it with Kayshon Boutte. He can do it with Pop Douglas is now a deep ball specialist. It truly doesn't matter who he is throwing the ball to. He is doing what you see from all of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL, in that he is elevating the talent around him. And it's just so clear that, he's really the thing he's the straw that's stirring the drink there. I have some fun Drake Maye stats here so far to this point in the season. He's 5th in PFF passing grade. He's 4th in passer rating. He's top 10 in big time throws. And the people that he is tied with for big time throws are pretty fun. He has the same number of big-time throws as Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. Those guys might be pretty good. I don't know. Maybe. Could be. He's 2nd in adjusted completion percentage. The one fly in the ointment for Drake Maye is the pressure to sack rate is still not great. He definitely still do be enjoying taking sacks a little bit too much. But if he buttons that up, which I think – sacks are definitely a quarterback stat, but there is that symbiotic relationship with the offensive line. If the Patriots offensive line can improve and Drake Maye can learn to not take the sacks quite as much, I think there's probably a happy medium where he can really get that down, because we saw last year he took a lot of sacks, but he also scrambled more than he's scrambling this year. I think he needs to scramble just like a little bit more. If he bails out a little quicker, if that internal clock is just dialed a little better and he just avoids those sacks. And I feel like Jaden Daniels actually does this pretty well, where he takes what should be a totally lost play that Drake Maye probably lets turn into a sack. He just turns it into, like, a lot of times it's not even sexy. It's like a 4-yard run or something, but it's still way better than taking a sack. I feel like if you can get that out of Drake Maye, there is nothing standing between him and being the overall QB1 in real life and in fantasy.
Yeah, I fully agree. He's been fantastic. I was kind of debating like how do you play the Drake Maye as him, and I was like, is it Diggs? It turns out it's just all of the above. Do you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me a little bit of kind of like Josh Allen when they had Emmanuel, they had Gabe Davis, they had, and it was just like you put a cheap pass catcher with you stack them and like that could work. It could be Pop Douglas, it could be Kayshon Boutte, could be Diggs. It's he's going to make them work. The one thing that I would note on kind of the pass blocking, so PFF have the Patriots as actually the third best team for pass blocking so far this year. And then when you look at the ESPN pass block win rate, they're 20th, so mid-table. And that's on a 3 seconds time to throw. So I think that the offensive line is actually doing a lot of work here in that, like, he's getting a very large time to throw, which obviously he's a dual threat, so those guys have the higher times. But they I think they are doing him a big favor here, and that's probably part of the success. But not to take anything away, he has been fantastic, but do want to note that maybe the offensive line are part of the story there too, with that being much improved.
Yeah, that's fair. I do think there's still probably some room for improvement, both in his play and the offensive line's play with respect to the pressure to sack ratio. But that's that's the only thing I really see that has much improvement needed. Okay, another guy who is in a fun spot on the chart that I feel like we have to talk about, Dillon Gabriel looks like he could be like the most fun, positive regression candidate if they let him just keep chucking it like this. But I wanted to get your take on, is he actually a positive regression candidate, or is this just a trap? Is he not actually good enough to deliver?
So not a positive regression candidate. I don't think. So I'm not, like, I saw that clip where somebody posted, like, it was like the 5 worst throws of the week, and it was actually 8 Dillon Gabriel throws. I think he had like something insane, like 55 dropbacks last week. And so cherry picking the 8 worst, I think, is like maybe not, like, it's fun. It's very funny watching that video, but I don't know if that's going to give you like a holistic, clear-headed view. When I look at the numbers here, so he's got one of the worst offensive lines. So his pass block win rate that for the team is at 27th overall. His time to throw is 2.5 seconds. So he's getting it out really quick. And then the drop rate is 11%. So it's kind of like, I don't know how many, like, I don't know if there's any quarterbacks that's going to look good when they have to throw the ball immediately, and then it's dropped 11% of the time. So I don't know, like maybe with worse matchups, like he obviously they will have a game. They'll have the return game with the Bengals. They play the Dolphins this week. But having said that, the Dolphins are just ass in general. So if the Browns are rolling, they probably just hand it off to Judkins like 25 times. So you won't get that high drop back count. So I guess what I'm saying is I don't think Dillon Gabriel is necessarily as bad as this chart shows. I think he's probably career backup level so far. That's probably how I'd characterize him. Which, I mean, given that that's good enough for kind of cheap rounds to get there. but I don't know if he's like a jam it in. I don't think he's like a great DFS player or anything like that. The Browns are just like the environment around him is too bad for that to like be helpful, I think.
Yeah, I think we're pretty aligned there. He's like, Bryce Young level bad. So
I think I might say he's played better than Bryce Young. No, I think he's probably played like, I think he's like Jacoby Brissett bad is what I'm saying.
I don't know. I think Brissett, I mean, maybe it's colored by the most recent Brissett game, but I think I'd take Brissett over Gabriel. But yeah, I think we're we're splitting hairs there. In the grand scheme of things, I think we both agree that it's not really a DFS play. I do like Judkins for the next week against Miami, and they really kind of went away from Judkins this last week. He didn't get a ton of opportunities against Pittsburgh. I wouldn't be surprised to see them kind of steer back hard into that against a weak Miami run D. The one thing I will say for Gabriel, I guess I've got two nice things to say. He really was not getting help from his receivers, Isaiah Bond and Jerry Jeudy, with like just disgusting drops, like shouldn't be on an NFL field level of bad drops. And then the only way that you get to the number of plays that the Browns were able to run is by sustaining some drives, right? It's not just a 3-and-out machine, So there's something there, and I think against the really bad defenses, you could do worse than some of the Browns' weapons. So I do think that
Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
That's faint praise, but I think he is.
Yeah, I don't know. It's still jury's still out for me, but I don't think that's like an egregious thing at all. But all right, we've already spent far more than enough time discussing Dillon Gabriel. One that is kind of opposite end of the spectrum and literal polar opposite on the chart. I know that I feel like I'm doing the thing that you hate to do, which is we're going to say the same thing week over week. And I gave Sam Darnold his flowers last week. I need to do it one more time because Sam Darnold just keeps being awesome. He just keeps being really good. It helps when you have JSN, and JSN is just awesome and winning at all depths, can do literally everything. But Sam Darnold, like, we need to put some respect on his name. Here's some fun Sam Darnold stats, to go along with. He's got crazy adjusted yards per attempt, like extremely efficient. He's first overall in big time throw rate, first in PFF passing grade, last in turnover worthy plays. So that was one thing I wanted to address, because I started seeing some narrative like this last week about how, like he choked away the game against the Bucs. He threw that last minute interception to lose the game for them. And I looked into it. He, again, last in turnover worthy plays. It's not like Darnold was out there like throwing a bunch of interceptable passes or anything like that. And the interception, if you actually watched the game, it deflected off of a defender's helmet and then got picked. So it wasn't like, he just threw this terrible ball. He was trying to fit in a ball into a tight window in a short yardage situation, and it bounces off a defender's helmet and gets deflected and intercepted. So I just wanted to make it clear that Sam Darnold slander will not be tolerated. Another guy who I think has been pretty interesting lately for fantasy, and I want to get your opinion on this one, because I was having a little trouble parsing if it was just like two good performances but like more noise than signal, or if it's, hey, this guy's starting to turn it around in a new system. And that's Trevor Lawrence. He's still not in a great part of the chart. I mean, part of that is from how abysmal the first couple games of the season were, but his last two games were pretty solid against tough defenses too. Played against the Chiefs and against the Seahawks, and he put up respectable fantasy days. The Chiefs came up with a lot of rushing, but I don't think we can take that away from him and say, oh well, that's we don't get to count that. That they do still count for fantasy points. But how do you feel about Trevor Lawrence going forward?
So another guy where I think he's benefiting from like a massively improved offensive line. Their PFF pass blocking grade is 5th in the NFL this year. And then I'm pulling up. ESPN had them as the third best in pass block win rate. What's hilarious is that I see he has a 12.3% drop rate. I don't know how Trevor Lawrence manages to have like this highly elevated drop rate every single year. Part of me is forced to question, like, does he just struggle with catching a passable ball? And then I see plenty of kind of like film watchers like, yes, this guy is a hospital ball king, and so I don't know. I at this stage I don't think Trevor Lawrence is very good. I do think that he's got that run thing. So in games where he runs for touchdowns or he has a big rushing yards, those are going to be good. I guess I would be somewhat optimistic that the efficiency would improve as they involve Travis Hunter more. Obviously it's massively helpful that he has one of the best offensive lines in the NFL too. So I think there's like, I guess what I would say is the environment's pretty good. It can get a lot better if they involve Travis Hunter more. So it could honestly be a fantastic environment. I don't think Trevor Lawrence is very good. So I think you can get good games from him, but I don't think he's going to be a long-term like NFL star or anything like that.
Yeah, I think I agree with you pretty much there. I don't know if you saw this, but it was the highest route rate for Travis Hunter this last week, so that's encouraging there. And I do agree with you. That could be a major boost for Trevor Lawrence if they do get Travis Hunter going more, and we can turn some of the De'Ami Brown targets or what used to be Brenton Strange targets, if those can be Travis Hunter targets instead, that's a really big efficiency help. Like that's like, think about just his yards after catch ability, and he
makes the quarterback right on so deep balls.
Yeah. I mean, there are lots of ways where he can be just this nice little salve to. I mean, you can see Trevor Lawrence needs help in the efficiency department, right? Like he's down here with Bo Nix, Spencer Rattler, Kyler Murray. Like that's not company you want to be keeping. But the things that make me optimistic are maybe Brian Thomas can return to the form we saw last year. Maybe they involve Travis Hunter a little more, and you could see that boost Trevor Lawrence a little bit. I also, there's room for Bashal Tutin to come on down the stretch and help in some of the like screen game and passes out of the backfield type stuff. So definitely, I think that Trevor Lawrence isn't good, but there's room for improvement to where he could be borderline useful for fantasy.
Right.
But yeah, I thought that was a good one.
He's in a good situation that has the potential to be a great situation.
Yeah. Yep. Well put.
I think that's that kind of highlights like no. And what's funny is his pressure to sack rate is still like 16.5%, which is that's decently high, especially when you consider that he has like this fantastic offensive line play. Like I'll say it again. I really don't think he's good. But like you're saying, encouraged by the situation.
It also could be a thing where we saw Liam Cohen do so much for. I mean, I also think like it's important to separate out like how much of it was Liam Cohen and how much of it was Baker, because Baker is just still awesome, But we saw Liam Cohen do so much to help Baker. Maybe there's still some of that, like, hey, this is just growing pains in a new offensive system for Trevor Lawrence. But I agree with you. Like the underlying, he's not going to be like a Baker Mayfield reclamation project,
Yeah, the things that he's always sucked at, he still sucks at, in my opinion.
That's a great segue into the last quarterback on our show sheet, and that is Justin Fields. So are you still sure that Justin Fields isn't getting benched? Because man, -10 net passing yards against the Broncos is pretty abysmal. And
what was it like? He threw for 45.
He threw for 45 and lost 55 via sacks.
That's
I woke up early. I woke up early for this game, Drico. I woke up. I got my Showdown stuff run. I submitted it. I watched the game, and I was really upset that I didn't stay in bed. It was not a pleasurable experience watching this football game. I mean, Justin Fields isn't the only one to blame for that. Bo Nix is also total hot ass. Like, I think Bo Nix kind of stinks, man. I think we got the best of Bo Nix's career already behind us, man. He does not look like a guy that can do it. That was the Jets' defense is terrible. Like,
right.
The only thing the Jets do,
they look like the prime Ravens defense out there. Like, I forget which year, was it 2006 Ravens or whatever.
Yeah, the only thing that the Jets do well on defense is they can make it really annoying to throw to your number one target because Sauce Gardner is going to be on them a lot, you know? And that's what happened. Like, Cortland Sutton really wasn't involved in this game. But man, I mean, I want to say like the plurality of the yards came from Evan Ingram, like little dump offs. It was Evan Ingram was
he was a key chain mover for them. For like a lot of their third and fourth down was he got the Rachel Green targets.
Yeah, as a card carrying member of the Evan Ingram hater club, I'm sure you were seething just watching Evan Ingram be as involved as he was. And I mean, even me watching it, I was like, this is not a functional offense. What are we doing here? So
I was like happy for him. Like it was one of those things where you're like, oh hey, that's another big first down for Evan Ingram. But then I think that was still like 8 or 9 tight end premium points. And it's like that's the this is the hater in me. It's like, yeah, he had an explosion game, and you're still not particularly happy to see him in your flex.
Yeah, no, it's the guy on the podium biting the metal, and he's all the way down at 12th place.
Yeah.
And now we just spent a lot of time talking about the best of the two quarterbacks in this game in Bo Nix.
Yeah, when we actually wanted to talk about
Justin Fields was worse than that. So we just spent all that. There was a whole tangent about how shitty Bo Nix looked, and Justin Fields was even worse. I mean, it's pretty frustrating to me because in the off season when we were doing rankings, I was the one to blame for like getting us higher on Fields. I was like, actually, I think that if he's playing, like we gotta move up like the expectation for fantasy points, which is proving to be correct. You know,
it's
like
correct, yes.
But you know what it cost us? It cost us more Drake Maye because they were going right at the same spot, and I think in hindsight, like the process was correct. We should have been more bullish on the fantasy production that Justin Fields can have. But man, it's just so frustrating watching what I think is, the next, Josh Allen level best quarterback in the league breakout from Drake Maye, thinking I took Justin Fields over this guy. Like I took the guy who, sure, he'll have some big games like on his way to getting benched as the Jets go 0-13 before they roll out Tyrod Taylor, So
stop me if you've heard this before, but part of me does wonder if the Jets are also not using Justin Fields right. Like,
yes, they're not.
Like what he does well is the rushing, and I'm not suggesting they should run the wing too with Justin Fields, but the rushing is a big part of his game. And then the deep balls that look so sexy. And I'm looking at his stats here. PFF say he has 0 big-time throws this year. 0. And it's like, well, that's the thing that Justin Fields is good for. What do you mean he hasn't done it so far this year?
And it's so frustrating because his strengths are complementary to each other, right? Hey, let's attack them downfield. Okay, well, now we're creating space in the short and intermediate area of the field, which makes it nicer for Justin Fields runs. It makes it better for handoffs to Breece Hall. Like it does everything, and it makes his life easier. He can't read a defense to save his life, right? But in plays where you're actually like threatening the defense deep, and then he's like, oh God, I gotta bail. If you give him a lot more room to operate on the underneath stuff, you're at least making it easier for him. But instead, they're just insistent on all these Garrett Wilson like 5-yard outs, man, or like these little comebacks. And it's like, dude, that is just not Justin Fields.
Let's make things easy for him. Get him out of the pocket, do the half rollout thing where you have like you cut the field in half. You have the low, and then you work the high. Like I feel like he's smart enough. Everybody's smart enough to make that read.
Yeah, and just the like forcing him to be like a timing quarterback, like, hey, you just need to, just
let's run the West Coast offense.
Throw with anticipation, Justin. Read the defense, Justin. Like, dude, you're asking a double amputee to run a marathon. Like, it ain't happening.
Right.
Just let him do what he can do. So I don't know what the frustrating part is. I don't think Aaron Glenn gets fired. He's a first-year head coach. Like they're the Jets, so they do crazy shit, but they're not gonna, just kick their first-year head coach to the curb so quickly, and then let Justin Fields.
That's expensive too.
Yeah, so I think that you're stuck with either they just don't figure it out, and eventually Justin Fields gets benched for Tyrod Taylor because Tyrod can do the things that they're trying to do, or the coaching staff figures out like maybe we should try letting Justin play Justin ball, which also is confusing to me because I feel like Aaron Glenn was super vocal about like, oh yeah, like we really want Justin Fields because he was, he gave us so much trouble when I was in Detroit. Like, yeah, Justin Fields is, the exact kind of quarterback I want. I know what to do with him. It's like, do you know what to do with him? Like, it's really frustrating because he could be so fun. And you can really hide.
He's our generation's Tim Tebow.
You could totally hide the ugly stuff with him.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be as bad as they're making it, but it's really bad right now. So,
and then I don't know if, let me see if I have the, no, I don't have it. Oh yeah, I do have it. So one thing that Pat was kind of, noting on the PROE, obviously, they had one of the, I think they had like a minus 15% or like minus 20% PROE. So like they were running the crap out of the ball. But one thing that you can do to make things easier for your quarterback is passing more on first down, because like that's when you have the optionality. But they damn it, why am I not finding this? They had a minus 6% PROE on first down as well. Sorry, that's for the year. I don't have I know that was it was worse than that in the last game, but like they're not like, there's very easy things you can do. There's like play action, there's motion, stuff like that they're not doing, and that's frustrating. But I guess that the pushback that we got from before was, hey, they are not going to bench this guy. He's got the contract, and the backup is Tyrod. So like, it's not like there's an exciting young player that could kind of come up behind them. This is the pushback that we got. I think the problem is the environment is so bad, and they're losing these games. Their offensive production is terrible. That can only happen so many times before the hook comes out. So I what we're saying, we feel pretty vindicated that's a very distinct possibility, very distinct risk going forward, given that he's continued to kind of play that poorly.
Yeah, I mean, my rooting interest is that they figure it out and run a more friendly offense for him. But I mean, even for fantasy, like, I'm not saying he's unplayable in DFS or anything like that. He is still good for the massive nuclear spike weeks because he can do the Justin Fields things. The problem is just they're setting him up for failure. And he's the one that's out there failing. It's not just that he's being set up for failure. You would hope that
his weaknesses are still his weaknesses.
Yeah, and they do not appear to be getting better. But I think that's enough quarterback talk. Let's move on to the running back chart.
Yep, we move on. So, just as a reminder to everybody, this is 4 weeks rolling, so we're not including week 1 or 2 in these numbers. It's week 3 through 6.
Yeah, as the weeks roll on, Kenneth Walker is gonna get knocked off this chart. he's gonna be squarely in the backups as these weeks roll on. But I do need to begin this chart with a capitulation. Last week we talked about Tony Pollard and how dead he was, and there was disagreement to the degree of dead that he was. And Drico is very right that Tony Pollard was super duper mega all the way dead. I said, yeah, he probably loses some of the pass game work to Tyjae Spears, and he did keep some, but definitely not enough to be fantasy relevant. Here's the funny thing: of the 10 snaps he's out there for rushing plays, he gets the ball all 10 times. Like when he's out there, they're giving it to him. Then here's this is the weird thing, and this is the part I actually want your help parsing. So we're going to put a pin in the capitulation. Tony Pollard's dead. We agree on that. Now let's live in the universe where it's like, how dead is he, and is he dead forever? Because Spears was terrible as a pass blocker. His pass blocking snaps were atrocious. I think he was the lowest graded pass blocker by PFF on the week. I didn't check that, but he was at the very bottom. I'm sure that over some certain threshold, he was one of the worst pass blockers. He did get a ton of snaps in the passing game, right? And
so he had 5 pass blocking and 26 routes.
Yeah,
versus 13 for Pollard on the routes, 2 pass blocks.
Yeah, and so, I mean, we've seen this film before play out for Tyjae Spears where, we're going to use more Tyjae Spears, we're going to use more Tyjae Spears, and then he just doesn't get used more. And so it didn't really work this week. It wasn't like, what a revelation. And so I wonder if that's over time it does go back to more Pollard, and here's the other thing. Like, I don't think anyone was expecting Tony Pollard to be like a league winner or anything like that after we saw what the Titans were going to be this year, right? Like you have an offense that bad, like
right. We had noted it. We'd have noted it earlier.
Yeah,
in the year where it's like, hey, they're this bad. It's not. There was a potential for league winner Tony Pollard early on with the near 100% snap rate, but now you're for a while he was a guy you were happy to play in your lineup, but we obviously degraded past that.
Yeah, at this point you're just praying that he returns to be Tony Chaperone for your rookies that are still coming on. But right now, he's just he might get you 8 points in a week, because Lord knows there aren't any touchdowns being scored by this offense. So there's volatility that gets injected with the Callahan firing and the fact that Spears still looks like Tyjae Spears. But I do think that, overall the sentiment is pretty bearish for Tony Pollard. If there's, if you're in a league with trades, there's no way you're trading Tony Pollard for anything valuable, but maybe you could toss him in as in a package deal where he doesn't look quite so bad yet. He has a bunch of games with a lot of opportunities and then a down game to the undiscerning eye. But I don't really want Tony Pollard on any season long roster. In best ball, I'm hoping he gives me a couple chaperone weeks, but yeah, it looks bleak. Another guy who's in a really awful team situation.
The only thing I'd say about Spears, and he is indeed pretty bad. So what's weird for me is that what's weird for me is that they said this guy was terrible. They gave him this 28.2 pass blocking rating. So one of the worst on the week. How many pressures do you think he gave up on that god awful pass blocking for his 5 pass blocks?
With the way you frame the question, I'll go with 0.
Yeah, it's 0. So I don't know. Maybe he got smoked and Cam Ward just got the ball out so quick, but that doesn't sound like Cam Ward. I and then when his the other thing with Spears is his receiving grade, fantastic.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, and if you look at overall offensive PFF grades, like Spears is the only one in the like mediocre to good category of like the entire offense, other than 2 offensive guards.
Yeah, no, it's bad. I feel like talking about the Titans is us, I feel like we're in Jurassic Park digging through a mountain of dinosaur shit looking for the cell phone,
Yeah. People are just the chat is just crying like Chris G is mourning his Tennessee buys and people are feeling the pain. You're right. We should probably move on. You tried to move on, and I was like, no.
The bad news is there's no cell phone. We're just elbow deep in a mountain of shit for nothing. So let's move from one shit pile to the next, and that is Breece, who incredible workload, 22 carries, like guys getting work in the passing game too. Here's the problem. The team is atrocious. So it's 22 carries for 59 yards. I mean, God, prior to even like going through week 5, I was like, you hear all the rumors about, the Jets might trade Breece. And I don't really think those are all that substantiated. I think a lot of it is just fantasy football wish casting more than anything. But I was like, I don't think you want a Breece trade. Like, he's got a great role. Justin Fields should theoretically be able to help the rushing efficiency there if the offense can be borderline functional, but it's just so far from functional, as we discussed, that I'm starting to come around to like a trade might be a good thing. And then we already talked about like the shakeup of the organization. I don't think you get a Glenn firing. Your other shakeup could be like a Fields benching, but I don't really think Tyrod coming in is a huge boost to Breece. The offense gets like a shade more functional, but I don't know, man. What are your thoughts on Breece going forward here?
So I do think didn't Adam Schefter put Breece in his like this guy could get traded article? Like, I know he put a lot of names in there, but I don't like, just to give Adam Schefter some credit, I don't think he just does that. Like, usually there's like, he knows something, he can't say why he's doing a thing, but he's like, he throws out those little scraps. So like I do think earlier in the offseason, I agreed with you that it was very unlikely. Now I think it's a very real possibility, just because given where the team is at, it's the last year of his contract. He's clearly he's got trade value, which is good for them. And I don't know that the role is so good that a trade would be bad for him. Like, he's got now. What's good is that he has a stranglehold on rush attempts, and that he's Breece Hall. So even though the rush attempts weren't great against the Broncos, I think overall they will be good just because he's Breece Hall. But I think he'll be Breece Hall on the rush attempts anywhere. So I guess he got a stranglehold on the rush attempts. He's splitting the pass routes with Isaiah Davis, which, fair enough. So 70%, he's at a 70% snap share. That feels kind of appropriate, where you don't want to just you don't want to squeeze every little bit of juice on him, and he's got nothing left by the end of the year. When the Jets play better matchups, he's going to be he's obviously going to have better days. I'm rambling a bit, but he's still Breece Hall. You get 20 carries a game, and maybe he's around 5 yards per attempt. He breaks off some long runs. Maybe he can catch a target, and he can turn that into something. He's not like one of the best running back plays or projections going forward, but he's got massive upside every week, is probably the way I put it. And I would actually be happy with a trade. That's what I think.
Yeah, no, I'm there now. I wasn't there before. But we will refrain from the very masturbatory exercise of fantasizing about Breece Hall trade landing spots, even though that's what I want to do in my heart of hearts, because we need to talk about what is going to happen in the Carolina backfield when Chuba is back, because Rico Dowdle just absolutely deployed the intercontinental ballistic missile in back-to-back weeks. Also, all-time quotes from my guy Rico Dowdle tells his former teammates, you better buckle up those chin straps before the game. After the game, after he drops his second consecutive 30-burger of fantasy points, second, back-to-back 200 yards of scrimmage games, he says they wasn't buckled up. I mean, damn, that's ice cold, man. I so much respect for Rico, dude. UDFA, just. Yeah, gotta love Rico. That was awesome to see. Super happy for him to have such a great game against a team that had no real business not re-signing him. Like, you needed to keep that roster spot open for Miles Sanders. Like, you really needed that extra $2 million that you didn't end up. Cowboys went into the season with a truckload of cap space because they botched the Micah Parsons thing. Like, I don't know, man. Kind of feels like an extra $2 million just to keep Rico around instead of Miles Sanders really would have helped. But how does this affect Chuba going forward here? Now that, I mean, the Rico genie is kind of out of the bottle, right?
So they were. If I'm looking at their kind of splits. So week 1 was massive Chuba workload. Week 2 was Chuba 10 attempts, Rico 6. Week 3 was 17 attempts for Chuba, 10 for Rico. Then it was 10 and 9, and that's probably the week that they got injured. And week 3 it was also 12 routes to 7. So I feel like it was probably like a 60-40 split even before the injury, or at least it was trending that way. I don't know. I think that's kind of the where it goes back to. Like if I'm looking at kind of the long view stuff, where they obviously paid Chuba Hubbard a good amount of money, and that probably gives him some insulation. It probably comes back as like a 1A, 1B is what I'd say. And maybe 2 drives go to Chuba, 1 drive goes to Rico. Like where it won't be like a clear rush and route split, or pass and rush split.
Yeah, I think that is definitely my read as well. It's gonna go back to where it's Chuba's job, but Rico will be much more involved than he was previously. Probably deflates the Chuba value a little bit. It's kind of I mean, I think we can reasonably say that if Chuba never gets hurt and they play, these last 2 games, Chuba also puts up nuclear fantasy scores. Chuba was really good last year. He had like a little bit of a slower start to this season, but then they get their 2 best rushing matchups of the season, and Rico happens to take them. So I think it's probably painting Chuba in a little bit of an unfair light to be like, oh, Rico's been so much better. It's like, I don't really know about that. So I think you're right with, the team really likes Chuba. Like, they extended this guy when they did not need to extend him, and they gave him a lot of money.
Just because they wanted to reward his good play.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, well, they're not going to give up on that guy.
Yeah,
honestly, I think Rico was probably playing himself into a 40% split before the Chuba injury, like just based on the week to week stuff here, and like that makes me feel stronger about that being the split when Chuba is back.
Yep. Yeah, fully agree there. Okay, we need to talk about. I feel like that's a more fun situation. We get to talk about the new and fun, exciting things happening for Rico Dowdle, and looking like a fun backfield with, potentially 2 solid NFL running backs. Now we have to talk about a really depressing situation. And he's right above Rico on the chart here. So as far as like the role and the usage he's getting, he's getting a lot of volume. And that's Chase Brown. But I have really bad news, Drico, and that is Chase Brown is the second best running back on the Cincinnati Bengals right now. And I don't say that lightly. I say that having watched Chase Brown and having watched Samaje Perine. And I didn't just want to, ball nowhere this. I went and backed it up with the PFF stats. So Perine, higher PFF rushing grade than Chase Brown this season, substantially higher elusive rating. Perine is ranked number 28 on the season. Chase Brown is ranked number 71. And like, if you watch it, Chase Brown just doesn't look super great, man. I think so much of last season was, and he wasn't efficient last season either. Like and we've talked about that before, it's just, hey, on the back of a lot of volume and a really good offense, he can be a bell cow, which is a really that is a valuable trait. We're not trying to take anything away from Chase Brown. It's just, he's not terribly efficient. And now that you get a really bad offensive situation, it really rears its ugly head here. So I wanted to play a game. How over is it for Chase Brown? I'm going to ask you a couple running backs, and this is for season-long redraft. So you'd have to choose when to start these guys. You tell me if you'd rather have the guy that I say or Chase Brown. So first one, Ramondre Stevenson.
Probably Ramondre.
Zach Charbonnet.
Probably Charbonnet.
Kamani Vidal.
Oh man, right now it's Vidal, but Vidal has a pretty good role right now.
Okay, last one. RJ Harvey. Chase Brown.
It's probably Chase Brown. Still there, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's a gross one. I mean, what do you? Are you to the point are you cutting him? You're not cutting him in a redraft league, right? He's just he's just a disgusting roster clogger at this point.
So to be fair, on the last week's splits in terms of snaps wasn't a best approximation, given how down the Bengals were, but Samaje Perine actually led the team in running back snaps. And so I probably a lot of that was 2-minute drill stuff, hurry up, trying to chase the game. But that even when you were drafting Chase Brown in the second, or some people drafted him in the second round or third round in the offseason, it would not have been even a remote possibility for you that Samaje Perine could lead the team in snaps in a given game where there's not an injury or something like that. So, do you drop Chase Brown? I don't know. It depends on how short the bench is.
Pretend I have to pick between dropping Harold Fannin or Chase Brown. Who do I drop?
Probably Chase Brown.
Chase Brown, or I have to drop Travis Hunter. Who do I drop?
Chase Brown.
Chase Brown, or I have to drop. Who's a pretty shitty one?
I mean, you hold on to you hold on to RJ Harvey over him, even though you'd start Chase Brown over him right now.
Right.
To me,
you'd hold two.
Chase Brown is the median shitter running back that you pick up on the waiver wire, where there's been an injury and somebody's going to have a 50% snap share and they're going to get a couple of carries. They might get a target or two, and you hope they score 8 points. That's Chase Brown right now.
So do you mean to tell me that if we did the faceless player, who's that Pokemon style graphic where you can't tell who it is, you're telling me Chase Brown, Michael Carter, that's the same shit right now?
I think, yeah. I think you probably start Michael Carter over Chase Brown right now.
Okay, let's end the pain for the Chase Brown drafters. We'll move on to a different running back that we're going to need to rag on. Let's move to the next chart because this guy lives in the backups chart. Despite being drafted as high as the 3rd round near end of best ball draft season, that's TreVeyon Henderson, currently dead last in rush yards over expected for carry this last week. Now, I do have some good news for the TreVeyon managers. You're sitting there with TreVeyon Henderson on your redraft team, much like myself. Got him in a keeper redraft auction league. So excited to draft him. Got him cheap. Going to keep him for cheap next year. Antonio Gibson tears his ACL last week. Very unfortunate, but probably a big benefit for TreVeyon Henderson, right? He's going to see a lot more work. Actually, no. TreVeyon Henderson saw his lowest snap share of the season this last week. But that's because now listen, Draco, that's because the Patriots were playing a real juggernaut of an opponent. They were just in a tight game the whole time. There wasn't an opportunity. They couldn't risk getting TreVeyon out on the field against the mighty, mighty New Orleans Saints. They couldn't risk dropping a game to that juggernaut. So, yeah, man, it looks bad for TreVeyon Henderson. The thesis of like, hey, he was a very good prospect. Like, I think that's pretty indisputable. I don't want people to get gaslit into like, oh, TreVeyon Henderson was never good. Like, that's not correct. But him being a contributing fantasy player in 2025 really looks like it's going to follow the curve of like, you're going to wait deep into the season for this guy to, and like something has to change with, it's not just an opportunity thing because his efficiency is terrible. He is the least efficient running back in the league measured by rush yards over expected. So any thoughts on the abysmal TreVeyon Henderson start to the season?
So I'm still, I guess the rush yards over expected per attempt is on 41 attempts. So he has 3.6. He's averaged 3.6 yards per carry. He did get 9 carries in the last game. So like it was probably one of his higher, even though the snap rate was low. They're using Ramondre as the receiving back, the primary receiving back. They still are giving Henderson more carries, so I bet he still got more touches. On his 41 attempts so far this year, he has forced 5 missed tackles. But then his long run is only 14. I guess the only thing I would say is that like when this guy gets in the open field, he's like lightning fast. And it's kind of perplexing that we haven't seen that yet. Like, would you be that shocked if in the next game he gets in the open field and he just blazes down, like he gets like a massive gain he scores like a 60 or 70 yard touchdown?
No,
like,
not in the slightest. Would not shock me.
Like that's going to happen this year, right?
Yeah,
you don't know when it's going to happen.
If you made me bet on will TreVeyon Henderson score greater than a 30-yard touchdown at some point this season, I would definitely take the yes. Like
right.
So,
and it's like weird that it hasn't happened, but it's also weird that it hasn't happened yet.
It is, and I mean, I don't know about you, but personally, my elite receiving back prospect, one of, if not the best receiving back in the class, best pass blocking back in the class, losing the work to Ramondre Stevenson in the passing game doesn't feel great.
No. So some of that stuff is bad. Like where, why aren't they using him as a receiver? Like he only had 6 routes. He did get 2 targets on his 6 routes. So I mean, you're coming off a game where he had 11 touches. Yeah. So like that part is good. Like I know they've hit him for like wheel routes and stuff like that. I don't know. Like I'm still like I'm not ready to throw the towel on TreVeyon and say wave the white flag. TreVeyon Henderson.
No. No, that's not what I don't think that's what we are doing here. I think it's more along the lines of like this is a you have to drag his body to the playoffs kind of thing to get for this guy to be good for you. And that's not to say like there's no way TreVeyon Henderson is useful before week 14. I think how you described it kind of illustrates like the nature of the TreVeyon Henderson play. You need a genie is out of the bottle kind of moment where it's like, okay, even Vrabel with his like hardo mentality of, oh, this guy's making mistakes or not doing the little things correctly, which like a lot of that is getting pointed out by, people grinding film on Twitter. Like you're seeing, oh, he actually missed the block that caused Antonio Gibson's ACL to get blown up, or, oh, he missed this pass protection assignment, or, this route wasn't run correctly, or all these little things where, hey, he missed this hole on this run, and that's why Vrabel benched him. Like, you're getting all these things brought up, and I think maybe it's just that Vrabel is letting those be more of a barrier to opportunity than some other coaches would. But that matters for him. And so you're basically hoping for these plays that are like 2% outcomes where it's like, hey, these super explosive plays where this guy does get into open field or like do something extremely special and show off his skill set. Like they don't happen terribly frequently, but when they do, that's what makes the guy special. And then you'd hope that over time, like he's able to do them at a little bit of a higher frequency as he develops as a player and gets more used to the NFL. But it's like, okay, so he's got 41 carries so far, and he's, in our hypothetical universe, he delivers these special genie out of the bottle type plays 2% of the time. Very realistic to not have hit one of those yet on 41 attempts. So you're just like, you're getting a little unlucky in that the attempts.
Right. And you hit one of those, and all of a sudden he's positive rush yards over
expected. Right. That's the other thing with like low volume rush yards over expected. I know rush yards over expected it's definitely directionally accurate on guys.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, it's helpful. It's good to look at.
Yeah. It's not
stuff like success rate.
Yes.
And other things like that. It's helpful to look at. But
I think more so with it's more helpful, for success rate than it is for like just saying more RYOE good, less RYOE bad, because it's easier to accumulate a bunch of these little negative RYOE plays like he has, and you could accumulate a couple small positive RYOE plays, and then you get one breakaway run. Like Miles Sanders was a huge positive rush yards over expected guy because the one breakaway run, right? And so it's just a stat where like the farther away from zero you get, like the less signal there is there. The signal becomes like, is guy fast? And it's like, that's not really what we care about. We care more about like, is guy able to do more with the opportunity than the average player would? And so that's kind of where like that stat disconnects from what we care about.
Yeah, and
anyway,
so here, like, just digging into the numbers, presenting a different way. So, TreVeyon Henderson, 3.6 yards per attempt so far this year. What do you think Ramondre Stevenson has?
3.9, 4.1?
3.1.
Oh, okay.
TreVeyon Henderson, obviously, he's very low in rush yards over expected percentage at 30.8. Ramondre Stevenson is only 36%. So it's not like it's this great situation and TreVeyon Henderson is just shitting his pants while like Ramondre is like running laps around them. Like we're on like, and I guess Ramondre Stevenson 51 rush attempts, TreVeyon Henderson 41 rush attempts. So I guess I like, again, I don't like it's very easy to bury Henderson. I think probably the bigger issue right now is even with the injuries, even with Henderson still 11 touches. That seems versus 14 for Ramondre. Even with that stuff, there could be something there. Like I'm not probably not playing TreVeyon Henderson in anything next week either. But like there could be the beginning of something there.
Yeah. All right. I think that's enough running back talk. Let's move on to tight end here this week.
Kyle Pitts, king of the tight end charts. This feels like 2022 all over again.
The tight end chart is also the rolling 4-week, just like the running back charts. So I feel like there's a couple guys. I'll start at the top. Trey McBride finally has a good game, and what do you know? It's with Kyler Murray out of the lineup. Why is that? So I mean, wishing Kyler Murray all the best. I really hope that he gets extremely into Battlefield and decides he needs a couple extra weeks to let that foot sprain heal. Because I'll tell you what, man, I'll take Jacoby Brissett over Kyler Murray, like straight up for the productiveness of Cardinals pass catchers. Like I don't need Kyler Murray in there anymore.
Again, Trey McBride, he has 357 air yards this year. The next closest is 290 at Hunter Henry, then 268 from Dallas Goedert. So, I mean, you extrapolate that over a full season. His peripherals are still he's still very good.
The Trey McBride thesis could still play out, is what you're saying. He could gap, he could totally lap.
Yeah, and we were on the opposite page on that side last week.
Yeah.
But when I look at this some more, he really could still gap these other guys.
It's not going to happen in a way because we're just far enough into the fantasy regular season that there's just not enough time for that to separate. So it's not going to happen in a way where you get these crazy Trey McBride advance rates. He could still be a plus advance rate player, just simply by virtue of where he went in drafts, right? Like if you were taking Trey McBride over.
It could happen. You could get some serious just nuclear McBride weeks.
Yeah, it's going to be hard.
It hasn't played out like that so far.
Yeah, it's going to be hard you need a couple nuclear ones here, and there's only 8 more weeks and he's got to bye, so he's got 7 more games to do it. You need probably at least 3 nukes and then some good games there. So it seems tough to get hey, he's just the advance rate monster, but it's very live that you get the playoffs. Hey, it's fantasy playoffs and Trey McBride delivers untouchable spike weeks by the other tight ends. Kyler, has decided that, he really wants to focus on his Battlefield 6 and, needs to let his foot continue to heal. And Jacoby Brissett is still in there and he's able to see Trey McBride in the end zone, and Trey McBride becomes a touchdown machine. And you're just getting a guy who's basically like a wide receiver 1, but he's playing in the tight end position. You're getting 100 yards and a touchdown every week from him.
The Marvin Harrison concussion stuff, that's obviously wish him a speedy recovery too, but that's been helpful. That was helpful for McBride as well.
Yeah, and so in the short term, you get that bump for sure. But yeah, I think Bowers. I'm pretty sure we've talked about this. I don't know how much we fleshed this out on the show, but we talked about it, privately and leg up ranking stuff. And I think we're both of the opinion that Bowers is going to miss through the bye. I think he's basically live for, he's not going to be able to do the McBride. He saves his season and is a good advance rate piece. I think that's curtains for Bowers just because of the higher price and the fact that he really didn't have a good game prior to getting in. He gets injured in the first half of the first game, so he doesn't have.
It was
a chance.
A 20-point tight end premium week.
Yeah,
he had 100 yards, but it
Yeah.
didn't clear the bar or anything like that.
Yeah. And so then you miss all these regular season games, but he's still live to be absolutely the guy that you need in the playoffs, because the rest of the tight end position is kind of playing out the way that we thought, where, you get the big weeks from Ferguson, but that's going to come back down to earth here with CD. I think he's a decent sell high candidate.
Another one.
Juwan, yeah. where it's these guys can pop for a week or two at a time, but there's no one out here that's sustaining really high end tight end production week after week after week. And even the ones that have sustained better production, like Dallas Goedert has had a hot stretch here. Sam Laporte has strung together a couple good games. Even those guys are not looking like they're going to deliver like this full season of just smashing. Like it's just these like little spurts here. I'd say Tyler Warren's the closest one, but he's not delivering monster weeks. He's just consistently delivering good weeks, which is very, for the price you paid for him, it's a smash. But still, I don't think that anyone is going to be able to hold a candle to the actual ceiling that McBride and Bowers have. I'd say Warren can contend with those guys' ceiling, coming down the stretch of the fantasy playoffs. But those three do, to me, at least have the highest chance to just be like the absolute season-defining plays at the position, which is funny because it really felt like it was just going to be like whatever late tight ends ended up, stringing together useful weeks. But I think that's possible. All right, that was enough rambling. Was there any other tight end that you wanted to talk about here?
So we should talk about Fannin because we talk about him every week, but we'll keep it brief. Where he had his highest route rate of the season at 78%. Combine that with a 22% targets per run and 6.6 ADOT. So that meant he got 10 targets last week, which was second or third behind McBride and Goddard, who got 11 each. So again, wish Njoku the best in his recovery. But I think Fannin becomes a pretty good tight end start in Njoku's absence, especially with the high dropback count that the Browns give. And again, I think Dillon Gabriel is okay, so I think that's helpful for Fannin.
Yeah, definitely. It's a wheels up spot for Harold Fannin. One other guy that I think we should mention, Cade Otton. We talked about it before where we were like, maybe with all the injuries, he gets something. I mean, surely now, Igbuka's out, Godwin's out, Evans is out. We're throwing, Baker is just throwing to remember that guys and Sterling Shepard and, Tyler Johnson and, not even Tyler Johnson. And Tez Johnson, Cameron Johnson, all the Johnsons. Baker's just out there chucking it to Johnson.
Well, you can call the Bucs the Johnson, the J&J, Johnson and Johnson.
Yeah. But I think that this is going to sound weird. I bet you Cade Otton goes under the radar this week. I know it sounds crazy. Like, how could he possibly go under the radar? He just hasn't done anything yet. And I feel like you got enough. Like, we already had the injuries. People already played out the, like, oh, Cade Otton should get a bump here thesis. Does he manage to fly under the radar inexplicably this week? I think he could really be like a true target earner in the Jake Ferguson archetype, the 30% TPRR with 3.8 ADOT. Like that seems on the table for Cade Otton here.
Yeah. So he's still running all the routes. Week 6 with all the injuries, he did have a 25% targets per run. With like a 4-yard ADOT, so definitely in play. Like definitely a pretty good tight end option with all those injuries.
Last note I had on tight ends: Darnell Washington led the Steelers in routes, I believe, this week.
No, he did 61%, and then a 26% targets per run. Like, that's nuts.
Yeah, truly disgusting stuff. He looks so funny running downfield, too, because he's just so large. Like, there are linebackers, like, trying to run with him, and even the linebackers look really small next to him. It's pretty comical stuff. But the whole point of bringing that up, other than the fact that it's really fun to watch Darnell Washington just run in the open field, is that there is not a a viable Steelers fantasy tight end. You cannot play anyone. It's a mix between Darnell Washington and Jonnu. And then Freiermuth is a distant third. Pretty crazy, too. Also, I believe there was a fourth tight end, Hayward. Was it Hayward that caught the touchdown?
Yeah.
So just sick shit from Arthur Smith, just making sure that, no tight end can be usable there.
The other one I want to call out is Oronde Gadsden on the Chargers. So he was up to 77% route rate, and he actually saw 27% targets per run. So he I don't think he's going under the radar. We had 8 targets, 47 air yards. Like that seems like wheels up for him. It's weird that it happened so quickly, but I know didn't Tyler Conklin make some massive mistake for the Chargers, or one of those other shitter tight ends? They made a massive mistake, and maybe they're just like, okay, well, if we're gonna get mistakes, let's get some upside.
Yeah, I think it's probably more to do with QJ missing, because they just needed some other competent pass catcher. And I guess that probably means that it's
like, was he actually out wide, or was he in line? That's a good question.
The other thing with Gadsden is this happened once already this year, where he got like 7 targets in a game already, and then came back down to earth. So to me, it's like you're seeing these flickers, like there's something there, but it's not, it's not like a thing where you can't hold him for redraft or anything like that. And you certainly can't start him. It's encouraging for like long-term. He'll probably, there's a chance.
We saw 28 inline snaps, 14 in the slot. So they were playing him. They're playing him as a real boy tight end. Let me look up Conklin. Conklin saw 3 snaps. And who's the other guy for the Chargers?
Disley.
And Disley saw 24.
Yeah, I saw a decent amount of Disley out there. I know he got a target as well.
But yeah, he led the team in inline snaps, which that seems interesting, right?
Yeah, Gadsden's really interesting. It's probably the tough part about him is you're probably like confined to showdown slate play, and then like you're hoping that the Chargers are healthy and good by the time it's playoff best ball time, and you're drafting some Oronde against, like that's.
You don't think he's like in like dog bowl stuff where like people have to draft, like there's going to be 12 tight ends drafted? You don't think he's like a punt worthy play even?
Not this week, I don't know. I'd probably just
maybe we need to get that snap rate twice in a row.
Yeah, that's more because I feel like even in a spot where you're the last guy to draft a tight end, and you're looking at Gadsden versus like a guy like AJ Barner is going to be there, and I'll just take AJ Barner, who's getting more snaps, even though he's in a timeshare, like he's getting more snaps. Or like I'd take like who else would be there as an undrafted, like I guess you'd probably take him over Mason. I'd take Michael Mayer over him though. Michael Mayer like got a,
for sure.
So it's just hard for me right now, but yeah, you give me this back-to-back weeks, then for sure he's on the menu. It's one where it's like the reward for playing it before I see it feels relatively minor to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking too narrowly about it. Maybe he's got more ceiling than I'm giving him credit for there. So I could just be wrong there as I think more about
41. It. Yeah. So he had 41 dropbacks in week 5. That was 25. So, and he had 25 routes. So what's that? Like a 70% route rate? 25 by 41. Start chasing it. 25 divided by 41. 60%. And then it what? 22 routes. So you're definitely seeing a very noticeable like uptrend.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe he's just you can play it before you see it I mean, like, I'm not going out of my way to take him over.
Well, I think you've seen it where he got 8 targets, 7 receptions, 68 yards. He didn't get a touchdown, but you've seen like a pretty steady increase in routes. He's gotten the usage last week. I think you've seen it.
Yeah, I guess my concern is that it was like their hand was forced because there's no QJ. You know, like that's not plan A. Plan A is like we'd rather build the plane around QJ and then have Keenan and Ladd be our complementary pass.
Yeah, maybe they prioritize them in terms of like targets, but like it seems like they're prioritizing Gadsden as their tight end. Anyway, we probably
I'm coming around. You're getting me to come around on Gadsden. He's probably a better salary cap DFS play than Dog Bowl.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If he's like, I haven't looked at his price, but all right, let's move on to wide receiver charts.
Yep. No need to talk about backup tight ends. So, I mean, to start off, JSN is just him. I don't have anything else to add other than that.
I think a lot of JSN's success is due to the fact that he just keeps it's so weird, man, but every week they keep rolling out backup running backs to play corner against him. It's so strange that keeps happening. But
every team has a designated like Rudy like player where like they only play to guard JSN whenever they play.
It's just some literal practice squad guy. They don't even have the name on the back of his jersey. They just put him out there in some unmarked jersey to guard JSN. No, yeah, JSN is awesome. It's been super fun watching him crush. But a guy who's also been crushing as of late, who has more competition coming down the pipe than JSN, George Pickens, comes off a huge game here. He has a quieter game against the Jets, where, we've seen that pattern with the Jets now. That's 2 weeks in a row where the Jets have Sauce Gardner really take away the number one receiver, and then teams just say, okay, we will do other things than that. I mean, the Broncos did not do anything other than that successfully, but the Cowboys just throw to, total bums like Ryan Flanoy and get there with, 100+ yard games against them. Meanwhile, George Pickens now, not against the Jets, just goes absolutely nuclear, puts up a huge stat line, also wins in like all the different ways. It was pretty fun watching it because it was like he ran the gamut of all the stuff that we've seen George Pickens do. It's not like none of this was new. Like, oh my God, we didn't know George Pickens could do this. We've seen him take the slants to the house back when he was in Pittsburgh. Like, they didn't do a ton of it there, but like we've seen that a couple times from him. It's like, oh, they should do that more. The Cowboys moved George Pickens around more this week and used him more closely to like how they deploy CD typically, but he wins the deep ball. He does the run after the catch stuff, makes a really good move in the middle of the field to like turn a what would be a shorter catch into like a 40-yard gain. He looked really good. Looks like a complete what could totally be an alpha receiver on a team that had less wide receiver talent competing. But CD's coming back. And so I wonder what you think of Pickens here. Are we likely to see him come back down to earth when CD gets back, or how do you see this playing out?
So give me 1 second. But the one thing that I think is the relevant stat here, I think, is how many times is Dak Prescott like dropping back a game. I want to go to passing for him. And so he is dropping back, what is it, 30 times again? Sorry everybody, as I look up this elementary stat. He's dropping back 40 times a game. And I would say that he's let me see, he's turning most of those into pass attempts. So probably attempting like 38 passes a game. For some reason the Cowboys offensive line is balling out. So all that to say is that even though he downgrades from the number 1 to the number 2, like I think that's funny awesome when you are in a passing attack that has this much volume.
Yeah, I agree. I think you can make the comparison to, the Bengals passing game when Joe Burrow is there, obviously, and you have the Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. George Pickens is like a more complete T. Higgins to me, where Higgins does the like contest and catch stuff that Pickens does, but I would say Pickens does that a little better, and Pickens can do some of the other stuff too that you would want your number 1 alpha receiver to be able to do. He's just I think he's one of the best receivers in the league. So you get both of them, and I think just having this time where it's like, hey, we have to build the plane out of Pickens for a little bit, only can benefit him going forward once they get CD back, because now they've seen he's able to answer the call. When they have to go to him, like, they can feel a lot more confident that he's going to be able to answer the call. So definitely think he still hangs on. Like Pickens
What's helpful for Pickens too is that even when CD was playing, it wasn't like Pickens was just, he's only lining up as the X. He never moves around. He's always on the right side of the formation. That's where he's all. They've been moving him around. So even when Pickens Lamb comes back, he'll still get a handful of slot snaps. He'll still be switching sides. So like, I don't think we're just going to get him in like an X, take the top off the defense type role when Lamb is back. Obviously, Lamb is going to get the line share of the targets, but going to be plenty there for Pickens.
Yeah, like for example, a thing that I wouldn't be doing right now is I'm not trying to sell George Pickens high just for the sake of selling him in a league where you can trade him, right? I mean, if I'm selling him high,
I mean, when Lambs comes back, you probably still play Pickens in DFS and stuff like that.
Yeah. And if I'm going to sell him high, it better be high. Like, I'm not just trying to sell him to sell him, Another receiver that I wanted to talk about, Drake London, finally gets right. Big positive regression candidate in that he had the weighted targets per route run, just hadn't had the big fantasy game yet. Has a really, really big game. He's close to another touchdown too. It could have been an even bigger game. But he, finally makes good on all the volume that he's getting. Do you think, I mean, I would assume that it probably, because before he really just was not producing a ton, and then he has this big blow up game. I'd like to think that it's probably a little bit more steady going forward, where it's not going to be just this like famine of fantasy points, and then all of a sudden he has the explosive game. The profile doesn't really seem like that. It's not like he wasn't earning targets before. He was getting the targets. It just nothing was happening. Yeah. So I think you probably get a little bit more steady output from Drake London going forward, now that we've seen proof of life that, hey, he actually can do it. Michael Penix can connect with him. But yeah, big game to get right there and move his dot up into a more appropriate part of the quadrant, given his weighted targets per route run. The other guy whose dot is on a lengthy migration. I mean, it was bad. I mean, he's in the wind sprinter quadrant still, but he's migrating up and to the right, and that's Lad McConkey. This is one where I could see it going either way, where QJ gets back and Lad is back to not being, the primary target again, which is totally different than we had it coming into the season. But sure seems like the Chargers really like having the plane be built out of QJ and have Lad and Keenan kind of be these secondary guys. Or at the very least, it's just an even split between all of them. But I wonder if like this QJ missing time and them making Ladd a focal point kind of reminds them like, oh yeah, this Ladd McConkey guy's really good. Maybe we should get him the ball a little bit more. So I wonder, how do you think this plays out for Ladd? Does he continue to approach more of what he was last year, or is he kind of just doomed to be, this one part of a three-way, more or less even split in this Chargers offense?
So it's kind of a good news, bad news. I guess the bad news is that he had 8 targets. His per game average was 6.6. So I guess that's a little bit of an increase, but it's like not a terrible increase. I think the big difference that came in this game is that on similar usage, McConkey just played really well and had a great game. I don't think he didn't get targeted that much more. His air yards weren't that much more. And I kind of throw out the last 2 games where Herbert's just running for his life. Like nobody's getting there. And I think this compares pretty favorably to those first 3 games, or it's pretty similar to those first 3 games. In terms of when QJ comes back, I still think you're going to get like 6 to 8 targets a game for McConkey. That's where he was. That's probably a little bit disappointing, where you need him to play really, really well on those 6 to 8 targets to have the big game. Does him playing this well ice out QJ? But that's probably up to QJ, isn't it? Where like we probably had a really good start to the season for QJ, but we know deep down in our heart of hearts that he's probably not like one of the best players in the NFL. Like I think he's good, but not one of the best players in the NFL, which is what he's looked like. And so maybe as QJ's play comes back down to earth, and McConkey's play comes up to the level we know that can happen. But it's I guess there's signs of life. There's signs of life is what I'd say.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty reasonable way to look at it. Basically, it wouldn't surprise me to see Ladd and QJ kind of converge on this chart to where they get similar weighted targets per route run. You actually QJ is going to be the favorite to have a higher weighted targets per route run just because he's getting the stuff deeper down the field. So Ladd would have to earn just more raw volume to kind of get closer to him there. But it wouldn't surprise me to see them both get closer to each other where they're at on the chart right now. Keenan had good targets the previous week, but I believe he was lower this week. I don't have it pulled up.
I'll pull it up real quick.
Okay.
So Keenan Allen. So in the first 5 weeks, he averaged 8.6 targets a game. He had 9 in week 5. He had 7 in week 6. He did only get the 27 yards. What's weird is he actually had a 10 ADOT. And so like he had 70 air yards, only converted that to 27. So it must have been a lot of incompletions there, and so that's why he didn't get on the stat sheet. I mean, I guess on his per route stuff, they're still involving him. Like he was a 24% targets per run. That is on a 74% route rate. That to me, that's just kind of like that. That's as you wear for Keenan Allen, where he's a key part of the offense, like, but not the focal point. You are going to have you're going to have pretty good weeks, but then it doesn't surprise me that you're going to have some down weeks like this as well.
Yeah, his receiving grade has trended down in the last couple weeks as well. It started a little higher, but last week was his worst PFF receiving grade. But similar, similar snaps.
He turned 70 air yards into 27 actual yards. So it does not surprise me that they don't think he played well.
But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see him get back closer to the beginning of the season. The targets are still pretty similar. So I think it's just going to be split where it's probably QJ
it's like you
and
said,
Ladd.
when he scores a touchdown, he's going to have a pretty nice week. Most other weeks, it's going to be fine. Not amazing. And then you'll have some weeks like last week where, it just didn't connect. So he's not looking great.
Yeah. I think it's going to emerge as QJ and Ladd are kind of like the 1A and 1B, and Keenan is the 2A in the offense, where they're all pretty darn close to interchangeable. But
it is fair as like an older player that his role kind of like his ability and role kind of declines. Yeah. Like that's a reasonable expectation over like, what is it, a 4-month season? Like that happens, but we're not seeing it right now, I don't think.
Yeah. Okay, I think we can move on to the next chart here.
Yep. Sounds good. R.I.P. Puka. R.I.P. Hope he comes back.
Yeah, really hope he doesn't miss too much time. He's just been such a fun player since he entered the league. The football is less exciting to watch without Puka. So hope he is back soon. You had a good note.
About what's his name?
Yeah,
the Chargers slot receiver, or not Chargers, Colts slot receiver.
But is Downs not on this chart? Is Downs on the next chart? Yeah, he is. Let's just talk about Downs. There wasn't a ton on that last chart.
So Josh Downs. What's funny is over the last 3 weeks, Josh Downs leads the Colts in targets with 19. But what was my note that he only converted that into 120 yards.
Yeah.
120 yards, so 19 targets. Last 3 weeks, you actually get a 70% route rate, and that's as the Mo Ali Cox, the tight end 2, playing a lot less. So I mean that's encouraging that they decided that the team is better when Josh Downs plays over journeyman tight end Mo Ali Cox, especially on the passing downs. It's only a 6.4 ADOT. So I think there's some pretty encouraging signs there, but it's also a little bit discouraging that that he's kind of being shoehorned into this low ADOT slot route role. I guess in the context of the overall Colts offense, and that's been good for them. They've liked that, and then obviously you had the nice usable week in week 6, where he caught the touchdown. He got some targets and got some yards. I guess I in the first couple of weeks, Josh Downs is kind of dead and buried. This is probably a good kind of floor for him, where 70% route rate, he's getting decently targeted, but they're low ADOT, and so he's probably putting up like what 8 points a game unless he scores a touchdown, and then it'll be in double digits.
Yeah, so I'm pulling up. I'm looking at all the Colts receivers, and it's pretty clear, or all the Colts main pass catchers, including Tyler Warren. It's pretty clear the delineation of how they're using them, where they all have pretty similar ADOTs, actually. They all operate relatively short. And Downs has been more of a focal point in these last couple of weeks, where Pittman has been the one that's seen his targets decline. Tyler Warren basically is like, yeah, I'm just going to get mine every game. Like the Tyler Warren targets are just here to stay. His lowest number of targets so far this season was 4. And that was last week, where I believe he gets a couple like goal line rush attempts and stuff like they're involving him. It's not like, oh, only 4 targets. It's like, no, 4 targets and some high value touches. So Tyler Warren is basically like the plane's built out of Tyler Warren, and then they decide between Pittman and Downs which guy is going to be more useful in that spot. But they all have pretty similar ADOTs. Warren ADOT so far on the season 6.4, Downs ADOT so far on the season 7.5, and then Pittman's ADOT so far on the season is 9.3. So Pittman's operating a little deeper. When you look at their receiving depth chart on PFF, Pittman is actually the one that's getting the like over the middle type stuff, the like 10 to 20 yards, the intermediate like splash zone targets. So those are actually going to be a little bit more valuable for fantasy if he can do anything with those after the catch, where all of Downs stuff is underneath. Downs in total has like, 2, 4, 6. Downs has 6 targets greater than 10 yards down the field. It's all coming underneath. The vast majority of it is just short, shallow crosser stuff to Downs, or like quick slants, those types of things. He has some stuff outside the numbers, but not a ton. So yeah, I think it's probably just going to be matchup dependent. I think Steichen is a really good head coach and understands how to deploy his players. I think they know that Downs is probably their best like real receiver. But Pittman is still useful for them, and they use him in a different way. Pittman is just basically deep middle Downs. But there's really not a lot of vertical stuff between those guys. That's pretty much pigeonholed to like the Alec Pierce and A.D. Mitchells of the team. So they have their like very defined roles. No one is out there operating all depths. So they're
not getting a lot of intermediate from Daniel Jones, which I guess good on them.
There really isn't a lot of intermediate passing in this offense. It's mostly short with like a smattering of intermediate and not much deep. I think like as far as how actionable this is for fantasy, all of these guys, the receivers, Downs and Pittman, are just like hey, I have a bye week and I need to play someone. But these are players that are going to get targets every week. They have a floor. Warren you're ecstatic about because the bar is so much lower, and he's just such a clear focal point of the offense. Like he's the 1A of all the receivers, and then Downs and Pittman are kind of trading off there for the secondary role. As far as best ball goes, I think you're pretty happy with all three of them. You're very happy with Warren, and you're pretty happy with Downs and Pittman at cost. So I think if you slam it, you're doing a
discount that is not playing out.
Yep. And Anthony Richardson is on IR with an orbital bone fracture. So let's see. Any other guys we needed to cover?
So the one thing that is kind of crazy here is Tez Johnson had an 84% route rate in week 6. He had a 2.1 yards per route run, 14% ADOT, targets per route run, 14% ADOT on a 26 ADOT. So like he's now the deep ball guy for Baker Mayfield. It appears. So that seems pretty interesting. Maybe he's just a prayer yards guy, but still interesting. Sterling Shepard, he is 80% route rate at 14 ADOT, or 80% route rate, 15% target per run, 14 ADOT. Probably just Sterling Shepard. Cameron Johnson, he had a 48% route rate, but heavily targeted. I think there's probably some value in these kind of discount Tampa Bay receivers. We'll probably end up playing one of these guys in the main event as injuries pile up on some rosters. Is there any of them other than Cade Otton that interests you?
Yeah, I think that's a really good call. I think the play is Sterling Shepard. He and Baker have a I believe they played together in college, correct?
That I do not know. Baker played for OU, right?
Yeah, let's see.
Oklahoma. Yeah, they did.
Yep, they did. So yeah, I think, and we've seen a connection between them in the NFL too. I think that you just get a good amount of a heaping helping of Sterling Shepard. He's been competent too with the Bucs. I'll pull up the Sterling Shepard stuff because I do think this is a good little bit of alpha. Let's see. So his receiving stuff for this last week. Yeah, not a ton of routes. He is running most of them outside too. He's operating in the slot a good amount, 50% slot rate, but it's not like he's slot only. I mean, it is a pretty high slot rate. But yeah, still didn't get a ton of targets this last week, even with all the injuries. But I mean, he's been pretty consistent with targets so far this season, averaging just a little under 5 a game. I'd expect that to go up. He's not going to be the deep downfield guy though. His ADOT is 10.
Tez Johnson is the deep down the field guy. All the receivers have good ADOTs just because Baker chucks it.
Yeah, when I look at his, I'm looking at the receiving depth chart, and everyone, it's all splash zone, baby. Baker just tucks that
Sterling
sucker.
Shepard 13.7, Tez Johnson 26.3, Emeka Ibuka 11.5, Cameron Johnson 11.3, Cade Otton 4, Rashad White
Cade Otton
1.3.
Yeah, Baker is so fun, dude. I think you just load yourself up with Bucs receivers and you pray. Min price Bucs receivers and pray.
Yeah, it seems pretty fun. It is fun that all these random guys. What's the game where people play where you have to guess what features they have and they pull down?
Oh, guess who?
Yeah. Guess who? Yeah, it's definitely a guess who receiver room.
Oh man, I was gonna say on the main slate this would be fun because it's probably gonna be a bunch of min price guys and you get them all low owned and you can do a bunch of Baker stuff against the Lions. But it's actually the Monday night game against the Lions.
And there's 2 Monday night games, so it's probably like a 2-gamer.
Yeah, it's a 2-gamer. For Showdown though, that's gonna be really fun. You get all this ambiguity with Bucs receivers. Should be a really interesting one. And of course for the 2-gamer, it's even better for the 2-gamer. Because for Showdown, I would assume they're priced up enough to where it's not, there's no free squares or anything.
Right.
Yeah. Should be a fun one. That's definitely a game to watch. Bucs Lions should be a really good one, honestly. 2 of the better teams in the league right now. I wish we were getting the Bucs at full strength, but it'll be a testament to Baker.
Right. Yeah. The Lions. I don't think they're defensive backfield.
No, the Lions defense will certainly be cooperative with allowing the Bucs to try and get there with their second stringers at receiver as well.
Honestly, I'm pretty fascinated by Tez Johnson, where he's getting the routes now, and I get 7 targets in the last 2 games, so not the most amount of targets. But I don't know. He seems pretty fun. Where he was awesome for Oregon with Dillon Gabriel as his quarterback. He's small, short, and slow, which is not a great combo.
Okay, so for Tez Johnson, if I'm, for this Showdown slate that's coming up, where does he fall on the Luther Burden scale of how hard I need to adjust the projection? Because for Luther Burden last night, I literally doubled his projection. I went in, I saw what the projection was. I just 2x that sucker and said, "There's enough fragility here."
Yeah, you're not. I don't think you're doing that.
You don't want me to double the Tez Johnson projection?
I think his reasonable projection is 6 or 7 points.
Okay.
Which he'll probably project. I think he should project for 7. They'll probably put him in as 5.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's what I think.
For the record, Luther Burden cleared his doubled projection. So ball knowers, we won no money off of that, by the way, because of Chris Moore. The Chris Moore touchdown pipped Luther Burden, so he was not valuable. Min
the
price
Chris Moore slappies they got there.
I mean, I slammed Chris Moore too. It just doesn't really matter when the min price $200 wide receiver comes in at 20% owned in the large field lotto. You know, he's pretty chalky. So
yeah.
All right, I think that's all the receivers we had to cover today. Anything else before we sign off, Jerko?
Do we need to talk about Wordy? I don't think so. I don't think we have anything new to say on Wordy. No, I think we're good. I think we're good.
All right. Well, I will. I'll look forward to seeing you all here again next week after we are officially halfway through the fantasy regular season. Good luck this week, and until next time.
Yeah. Good luck, everyone. Thanks for joining.